The night market smelled of smoke, oil, and fear. Lanterns of blue fire burned along the narrow streets, throwing long shadows over rows of cages. The crowd moved slowly, voices low, eyes watching the goods behind iron bars. Humans were rare here. Outsiders were watched, judged, sometimes robbed. But Jace walked with steady steps, his coat drawn close, his hand never far from the holster at his hip. He had seen markets like this before, on worlds where law had no meaning. Still, this one was worse. It was not cargo being sold. It was lives, cages stretched in both directions. Inside were creatures of every shape, thin insectoid beings, scaled lizards with broken tails, even tall horned warriors now silent and beaten. Most sat in silence waiting for buyers who would use them for labor, combat, or worse. Jace tried to keep his eyes ahead. He was not here to buy. He only wanted information, maybe supplies, and then he would leave this cursed place. But then he stopped. One cage held a single figure, small and thin. Chains clinked as she lifted her head. She was humanoid but not human. Her skin was pale with a faint glow like moonlight underwater. Her hair hung long and silver, tangled with dirt. Around her neck was a heavy collar, and from it a chain ran down to the floor like she was nothing more than an animal. But it was not her appearance that stopped him. It was her eyes. She looked straight at him through the bars, unblinking. Her lips parted, and in a soft voice, broken but clear, she whispered, "Please, buy me, make me yours." Jace froze. He thought he misheard, but her eyes did not leave his. He stepped closer, careful not to draw attention. "What did you say?" he asked. Her voice trembled, but her words were strong. "Buy me! Please, take me with you!" The chain rattled as she shifted forward, still kneeling, still bound like a dog. Jace frowned. Most slaves begged not to be chosen. Most looked away or cursed silently. But this girl was different. She wanted him to take her. "Why?" he asked. "Because if you don't," she whispered, "they will. And if they take me, I die." A shout broke the moment. A fat merchant in layered robes stomped closer. His 4 eyes glared from beneath a jeweled crown. "You!" he barked at Jace. "No touching the stock unless you mean to buy." The girl flinched back, but her gaze never wavered. She looked at Jace with desperate fire. The merchant spat. "Worthless creature, this one. Too much trouble. But cheap. For you, human, a discount. You want her?" Jace said nothing at first. He should walk away. He should mind his own business. But something about her voice clung to his mind. Something in her eyes told him this was no normal prisoner. "Why is she chained like that?" he asked. The merchant grinned, showing teeth filed to points. "Because she bites. Because she runs. Because she is dangerous. A cursed thing, some say. Better as a pet than a servant." The girl lowered her head, but her hands clenched the chain. Her lips moved only for Jace to hear. "Please, take me." The crowd pressed closer, curious. A human buying a slave was a rare sight. Whispers spread like smoke. Some laughed. Some shook their heads. Some stared with grim interest. Jace felt the weight of 100 eyes on him. His instincts screamed danger, but his gut told him something else. If he left her, she would be dead within the day. His hand slipped toward his belt, brushing the pouch of credits. He could not believe what he was about to do. The merchant leaned forward. "Well, do we have a deal?" The girl's voice was barely a whisper now, her breath trembling, her eyes locked on his. "Please." The night market seemed to grow silent around him. Every choice in his life had led him here to this single moment, and Jace knew, whatever this was, whatever trouble waited, if he walked away now, he would never forgive himself. He took a breath, his hand closing on the credits. "I'll take her." The merchant grinned wide. The girl's eyes filled with light, though chains still bound her. And in that moment, Jace realized something. He was no longer a simple traveler passing through. He had just stepped into a story far bigger than himself. The merchant's thick fingers grabbed the chain and yanked the alien girl forward. She stumbled, nearly falling, but kept her eyes on Jace as if he were her last hope. "Payment first," the merchant said, grinning with sharp teeth. His voice boomed over the market noise. "Credits now." "Then she is yours to do with as you wish." Jace hesitated. His credits were not endless. He needed them for fuel, repairs, and food. Spending them here on a chained girl made no sense, but he could not shake the memory of her whisper. "If you don't, I die." He pulled out a pouch and handed it over. The merchant's eyes glowed greedily. He counted fast, then tied the pouch to his belt with a satisfied nod. "Done," the merchant said. He thrust the chain toward Jace. The weight was heavier than Jace expected. The girl staggered forward again, her silver hair falling over her face. The merchant barked a laugh. "A fool's bargain, human. But it's your problem now. Don't bring her back." No refunds, the crowd laughed too. Some pointed, some muttered. Others just stared, their eyes following Jace and the girl with strange hunger. Jace didn't like it. He didn't like how quiet the air had grown, or how the whispers carried words he could not hear clearly. "Come on," he said to the girl, tugging the chain gently. "We're leaving." She obeyed without hesitation. But even as she walked, her thin hands clutched the chain, as though she feared someone else might steal it from him. They left the market, weaving through narrow alleys lit by glowing fungus lamps. Jace's steps were steady, but his eyes moved constantly, watching for danger. He could feel it, someone was following. Only when they reached a quieter street did he stop. He turned to the girl. "All right," he said. "Talk, who are you? Why did you want me to buy you?" Her voice was low, urgent. "No time." "They will come soon." "Who?" "The hunters. The ones who kept me chained." "They will not let me go," Jace frowned. "Then why sell you?" "They don't know what I am," she said. Her eyes glowed faintly under the street lamps. "But others do. And once they learn I'm free, they'll try to take me back." Jace rubbed the back of his neck. He hated riddles. He wanted straight answers, but something told him pressing too hard here would break her. She was too fragile, too desperate. "Fine," he said. "We'll talk later. First, we get to my ship." The girl nodded quickly, but then she leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. "You should hide the chain. If they see it, they will know." Jace glanced at the iron links in his hand. He shoved them into his coat pocket, leaving only the collar around her neck. They moved fast through the streets, but the city was alive with noise and eyes. Vendors shouted, guards marched, and shadows seemed to follow. Twice Jace spotted figures in dark cloaks lingering too long. Each time the girl clung closer to him. Finally, the spaceport came into view, a cluster of ships behind high fences guarded by rusty gates. His small freighter sat near the back, engines cold, hull patched with cheap plating. Not much to look at, but it was home. They were almost at the gate when a voice called out, "Human!" Jace turned. 3 figures stepped from the shadows, tall armored, their faces hidden under smooth masks. Each carried a weapon, long spears crackling with energy. The girl froze, her face draining of color. "They're hunters," she whispered. Her voice shook. "Run." The leader of the masked figures raised his weapon. "Hand her over," he said. His voice was metallic, hollow. "The girl belongs to us." Jace's hand dropped to his blaster. "I just paid good credits." "She's mine now." "She is not yours," the hunter said coldly. "She is property of the Order. Give her back or die where you stand." The girl grabbed Jace's arm, eyes wide with fear. "Please, don't let them take me." Jace's mind raced. He had 3 choices: fight them here in open street, hand the girl over and walk away, or run for his ship and pray they made it in time. The hunters stepped closer, spears humming with deadly light. "Last chance, human," the leader said. Jace took a slow breath. His instincts told him one thing. If he gave her up, it was over. She would vanish back into chains or worse, and something deep inside him hated that idea more than anything. He tightened his grip on the blaster. No deal. The hunters tensed. The girl's chains rattled as she clung tighter. Then in the silence she whispered to Jace, words only he could hear. "There's something you don't know about me. If you keep me, your life will change forever." Before Jace could answer, the hunters lunged. The hunters moved like shadows, their energy spears glowing bright in the night. Jace barely had time to pull his blaster free before the first one lunged. The spear cut the air with a crackle that made the hairs on his neck rise. Jace ducked and fired. The bolt struck the hunter's chest, throwing him back into a wall. Sparks lit the street as the armored body hit the ground. The other 2 closed in at once. "Run!" Jace shouted. He grabbed the girl's hand and pulled her toward the spaceport gate. The hunters gave chase, their heavy boots slamming against the stone street. The girl stumbled, but Jace dragged her forward. His eyes locked on the freighter at the far end of the yard. Guards at the gate raised their heads, startled. One hunter flung his spear, and it struck the nearest guard in the chest. The man fell without a sound. The second guard bolted, leaving the gate wide open. "Through!" Jace barked. They sprinted past the body and into the yard. The freighter loomed ahead, scratched and battered, but still standing. Jace's heart pounded in his chest. Behind them, the hunters shouted. Their voices echoed like metal striking stone. The girl gasped. They will not stop. They cannot stop. Then we make them, Jace said, firing another bolt over his shoulder. It hit the ground near the hunters, scattering sparks, but it slowed them only for a second. Reaching the ship, Jace slapped the hatch controls. The ramp groaned open. Inside! The girl scrambled up the ramp, her chains clattering on the metal. Jace followed, hitting the door control behind him. The ramp rose, sealing them inside with a hiss. The ship's interior was dim, cluttered with crates, tools, and wires. Jace rushed to the cockpit, the girl stumbling close behind. He dropped into the pilot's seat and slammed his hand on the ignition. The engines coughed, then roared alive, rattling the hull. Outside, fists pounded against the ramp. A spear stabbed through the metal, sending sparks across the cargo bay. Strap in, Jace shouted. The girl grabbed the co-pilot's chair, clutching the straps with trembling hands. Her glowing eyes never left the door as it shuddered under the hunter's blows. Jace pulled the throttle. The freighter lifted, engine screaming. The landing struts retracted as the ship rose into the smoky night sky. The hunters weren't finished. Two leapt onto the ship's hull, their spears stabbing deep. Warning lights flared red across the cockpit panel. They're on us, Jace growled. He jerked the controls, spinning the ship hard. The girl cried out, clutching the seat as the freighter rolled. One hunter lost his grip and tumbled into the night. The second held on, stabbing his spear into the hull again and again. The girl's voice rose, filled with fear. They will tear through. You must shake him off. Working on it, Jace spat. He flipped the engines to full burn. The freighter shot upward, slamming the hunter flat against the hull. Jace rolled again, and with a final twist, the figure was flung into the darkness, disappearing below. The alarm still screamed, but the ship was flying. Jace let out a hard breath. They're gone, he said. The girl didn't relax. Her hands clutched the straps until her knuckles turned white. They will come again. You don't understand. They will never stop. Jace glanced at her. Sweat ran down his forehead, but his voice stayed firm. Then you'd better start explaining. Who are they? Why do they want you so badly? She turned her face toward him, her silver hair falling away from glowing eyes. For a moment she was silent, as if weighing a choice. Then she spoke, her voice low but steady. They are hunters of the Order. They exist only to capture, to chain, to bring back what escapes. And I am their most valuable prize, Jace frowned. Why? She looked down at the collar around her neck, then back at him. Because I am not just a slave. I am the last of my kind, and if they control me, they control everything my people left behind. Her words hit Jace harder than the chase. He stared at her, trying to read her face. She looked young, fragile, broken by chains, but her eyes carried an ancient weight, as if she had seen more than he could imagine. You're telling me, Jace said slowly, that you're not just some girl they found in a cage? She shook her head. I begged you to buy me because only you could resist them. Only a human can break the bond they use. That is why I need you. That is why you cannot leave me. The alarms beeped again, warning of incoming ships. Jace glanced at the scanner. 3 fast blips appeared, closing in from behind. The hunters weren't finished. Looks like your order brought friends, Jace muttered, gripping the controls. Hang on tight. The girl's eyes glowed brighter now, not just with fear, but with something else. Hope, or maybe desperation. You saved me once, she whispered. If you keep me, your life will never be the same. The scanner screamed louder. The hunter ships were almost on them. Jace set his jaw. He didn't know what he had gotten himself into, but he knew one thing for sure. Turning back was no longer an option. Then let's see, he said, tightening his grip on the throttle. Just how much trouble you're worth. And with that, the freighter roared into the stars, hunted and hunted again. The freighter shook as it tore through the upper atmosphere, engines howling against the pull of gravity. Red lights flashed across the cockpit as the hunter ships closed in. They were smaller, faster, built to capture and cripple, not destroy. Jace kept his eyes on the scanner, fingers flying over the controls. They're trying to hurt us, he muttered. Cut us off before we hit open space. The girl sat rigid in the co-pilot's chair, her hands still clutching the straps. Her silver hair clung to her face, her glowing eyes fixed on the stars ahead. They won't stop, she whispered. Not until I am back in chains. Jace shot her a sharp look. Then start talking. You said something about a bond. What did you mean? She hesitated. The hum of the engines filled the silence. Finally, she spoke, her voice low but steady. The order uses a bond, a thread of the mind. When it is placed on someone, they lose themselves. They obey without thought, without fight. It is how they control slaves, how they build armies. Most species cannot resist it. Her hands trembled. She gripped the straps tighter. My people were strong once, proud. We thought we were safe. But the order found us. They used the bond to break us. My kind fought, but one by one we fell. Soon I was the only one left free. Jace frowned. If it works on everyone, how are you free? She lifted her head. Her glowing eyes met his. Because I ran. Because I broke myself rather than let them take me whole. But the bond still hunts me. They want me alive, not dead, because I carry what they need. Jace shook his head. This is madness. No one can control minds like that. Her voice rose, filled with sudden fire. You don't believe me? Look. Before Jace could stop her, she pulled the chain collar tighter around her neck. Her body stiffened, her eyes darkened, and her voice dropped to a flat, empty tone. I obey, she said. I belong. Jace's stomach turned. The fire in her eyes was gone. She looked like a hollow shell. Then, with a gasp, she let go of the collar. She sagged back into the chair, shaking. Her eyes glowed faint again, alive once more. That is what the bond does, she whispered. That is what they want me for. They want to use me to bind others, to make them slaves. Entire worlds would fall. And I cannot fight them alone. Jace was silent for a moment. He stared at her, then at the scanner showing the hunters closing in. His voice was hard when he finally spoke. Why me? Why beg me to buy you? Her lips trembled, but she forced the words out. Because humans are immune. The bond does not work on you. I don't know why, but when I saw you in the market, I knew. You could hold me. You could keep me from falling under again. Jace felt a chill. Immune? He had heard many things about humans in the far reaches of space, most of them exaggerated. But this, if true, it changed everything. He gripped the throttle tighter. So you're saying they can break anyone but me? She nodded. That is why I begged you. That is why you cannot let them take me. The scanner beeped louder. The hunter ships had locked on. Jace cursed under his breath. Then I guess it's my bad luck, he said, that I picked today to stroll through that market. He banked the freighter hard, engines roaring. The hunter ships closed in, spears of energy lashing out. One bolt struck the rear shields, rocking the ship. Sparks burst from the control panel. The girl cried out. They'll disable us. They won't kill you, they'll chain you too. Jace gritted his teeth. Let's see them try. He yanked a switch, releasing counter flares. The hunter ship scattered briefly, dodging the bursts of light. Jace dove the freighter into the thick clouds below, engines straining as the hull rattled. Lightning cracked around them. Rain streaked across the cockpit window. The scanner flickered with static. They can't see us clearly in the storm, Jace said. Might buy us some time. The girl leaned forward, clutching the edge of the console. Her voice was urgent. You don't understand. They will keep coming. They will send more. You must let me go before they destroy you. Not happening, Jace snapped. I didn't risk my neck just to throw you back. She looked at him, her glowing eyes wide, her voice breaking. Then you don't know what you've done. You've chained yourself to me. If I stay free, if I live, the whole galaxy will change. And now, you're part of it. Jace said nothing. He pushed the freighter harder, deeper into the storm. But in his chest, he felt the weight of her words. He had wanted nothing more than to pass through this world, buy supplies, and move on. Now, in less than a single night, he was flying with a girl who carried the fate of worlds in her chains. And behind them, the hunters still followed. The freighter shook as it broke free of the storm and into clear skies above the planet. The clouds fell away, revealing the black stretch of space scattered with stars. For a moment, it was calm. Jace checked the scanner. The hunter ships were gone, at least for now. He leaned back in his seat, breathing hard. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heart still pounded from the chase. Beside him, the girl sat in silence, her glowing eyes fixed on the stars. She looked exhausted, but there was still fire in her gaze. Jace finally spoke. We're safe for now. But you weren't lying, they'll keep coming. So we need a plan, somewhere to hide, somewhere they can't find you. The girl shook her head. No place is safe. The Order has eyes everywhere. Even now they may already know where we are. Jace frowned. Then we'll stay ahead of them. I know places off the grid. Pirate stations. Dead colonies. I've slipped patrols before. The console beeped. A comm signal flashed on the screen. Jace's jaw tightened. He tapped the switch and a face appeared in the holo display. A man with dark skin, rough stubble, and a worn pilot's jacket. His grin was wide, but his eyes were sharp. "Jace, you old dog," the man said. "Didn't think I'd see you in this sector again." Jace forced a smile. "Kellen, thought you were still running guns on the rim." "Still am," Kellen said, "but word travels fast. You left the market with some strange cargo, something glowing, something the Order wants badly." The girl stiffened in her seat. Her chains rattled as her hands tightened around them. Jace narrowed his eyes. "How do you know that?" Kellen's grin grew wider. "Because they came to me first. They asked where you were headed. They offered a fortune for the girl." Jace's stomach dropped. He should have known. Kellen was no friend, only a partner when credits were good. And the Order's credits would be more than good. "You sold me out," Jace said flatly. Kellen shrugged. "Don't take it personal. The hunters are already on their way. You can't outrun them forever, but maybe I can cut you a deal. Hand the girl over to me. I'll pass her along and maybe they'll let you live." The girl's voice broke the silence. "He lies. The Order never leaves survivors." Kellen's eyes flicked to her. His grin faltered for a second. Then it returned, colder than before. "Doesn't matter. Either way, she's worth more than both of you combined." The comm cut off. The screen went dark. For a long moment, only the hum of the engines filled the cockpit. Jace muttered a curse. He slammed a fist against the console. "Damn it, I knew he'd sell me the second he smelled credits." The girl leaned toward him, her voice urgent. "You must not let them take me. If they do, everything is lost." Jace turned to her, his eyes hard. "Then it's time you told me everything. No more half-truths. Who are you, really?" She hesitated, her lips trembling. Then slowly, she lifted her hand to the collar around her neck. Her glowing eyes met his. "My name is Alara," she said. "I am daughter of the High Sovereign of Lysera, or I was before the Order destroyed my world." Jace blinked. The words hit him like a blow. Lysera. He had heard the name before. A shining empire once destroyed in a war no one fully understood. The ruins of its cities were said to be cursed. "You're telling me you're royalty?" Jace asked. Alara nodded. "The last of my bloodline. My people believed our line carried a gift, a connection to the stars themselves. That gift is what the Order wants. With me, they can strengthen their bond, spread it farther, enslave entire systems. That is why I begged you, because you are the only shield I have left." Jace rubbed his face with one hand. He had wanted nothing but a simple job, a safe flight, a quiet life. And now he was sitting beside a princess whose captors wanted to chain the galaxy. "This just keeps getting better," he muttered. The ship's warning alarm blared. The scanner lit up with new signals. Multiple ships dropping out of warp nearby. Hunter vessels. Alara's eyes widened. "They've found us." Jace's jaw tightened. "Of course they have. Kellen led them right to us." He gripped the controls, his voice steady even as the cockpit shook with incoming fire. "Hold on, princess," he said. "Looks like it's time we stopped running." Alara's glowing eyes burned with new fire. "Then I will fight with you." Jace glanced at her chains, then back at the hunters filling the scanner. For the first time he saw not just a frightened girl in chains, but something more. Someone who refused to bow even when the galaxy demanded it. "Good," he said. "Because if we're going down, we're not going down easy." The freighter's engines roared. The hunters closed in, and the battle for Alara's freedom had only just begun. The freighter rattled as enemy fire slammed against its shields. Warning lights flashed across the cockpit, red and angry. The hunter ships circled like wolves, their energy spears glowing in the black of space. Jace gritted his teeth and pulled hard on the controls. The freighter spun, its engines roaring, and a burst of laser fire streaked past where they had been a second before. "They're driving us into a trap," he muttered. Alara clung to the co-pilot's chair, her glowing eyes locked on the scanner. "There are too many. You cannot fight them all." Jace gave her a sharp look. "Watch me." He flipped a switch, releasing a burst of decoys. The hunter ships veered for a moment, confused by the sudden scatter of signals. Jace dove the freighter low, skimming the upper edge of a nearby moon. The surface flashed past beneath them, gray and broken, dotted with craters. The hunters regrouped fast. 3 ships dove after them, firing again. Bolts slammed into the shields, rocking the freighter so hard Alara cried out. "Shields won't hold long." Jace barked. Alara's voice was urgent. "There is a way." Let me help you, Jace frowned. Help how? You don't even have a weapon. She met his eyes, her face pale but determined. My people's gift. You would call it a connection. I can see what is coming for a moment if I focus. I can guide you through, Jace hesitated. He had seen plenty of strange things in his life. But right now, with hunters tearing at his ship, he had no time for doubt. Then do it, he said. Ilara closed her eyes. Her hands trembled as she pressed them against the console. Her breathing slowed. For a moment, Jace thought nothing would happen. Then her voice rang clear, strong. Left now! Jace yanked the controls left. A spear of energy shot past the cockpit window, missing them by inches. Up! He pulled hard, and another shot streaked under them. Her glowing eyes snapped open. Roll! The freighter twisted just as two hunters fired together. Their shots crossed and collided, exploding in a flash that tore one of them apart. Jace let out a laugh. Not bad, Princess. Not bad at all. But there were still more ships, too many. The scanner lit up with blips, more hunter reinforcements dropping in from warp. Ilara's voice trembled, but she stayed firm. They will not stop until they have me. You cannot win by running. Jace's grin faded. She was right. Running had kept them alive, but it wouldn't end this. Then we make a stand, he said. He swung the freighter back around, heading straight for the hunter ships. The girl gasped, clutching the chair. You're flying into them. Exactly. The freighter shook as shots slammed against its hull, but Jace kept the throttle forward. At the last second, he fired all weapons, lasers, cannons, even the emergency mining beam. A storm of fire lit the black sky. Two hunters went down in flames. The rest scattered, but more poured in behind them. Jace cursed under his breath. Not enough firepower. Ilara's voice cut through the chaos. There is another way. The collar. It still carries part of the bond. If I open it, I can release a surge strong enough to cripple them for a moment. Jace's eyes snapped to her. And what happens to you? She looked down, her lips trembling. It might kill me. Jace's jaw tightened. Not happening. Her glowing eyes met his, fierce and unyielding. If you don't let me, we both die. And the galaxy falls. You must choose. For a heartbeat, Jace said nothing. Then he pulled his blaster from the holster and aimed at the collar. Ilara's eyes widened. What are you doing? Freeing you, Jace said. He fired. The blaster bolt struck the collar. It shattered with a burst of sparks. The chain fell away, clattering to the floor. Ilara gasped, her body trembling. Then her glow brightened, flooding the cockpit with silver light. The hunter ships closed in. Energy spears charged. Ilara raised her hands. A wave of light burst from her body, spreading out like ripples in water. It struck the hunter ships, and one by one their engines sputtered. Their weapons went dark. They drifted powerless, caught in her surge. Jace stared, eyes wide. You weren't kidding. Ilara sagged in the chair, breathing hard. But her eyes glowed brighter than ever. They are stopped. But only for now. More will come. Jace tightened his grip on the controls. The field of disabled hunter ships floated before him, helpless. He smiled grimly. Then let's make this hurt. He hit the weapons again. The freighter's cannons lit up the sky, tearing through the disabled hunters one by one. Explosions flashed across the stars, fire blooming in silence. When it was over, only wreckage remained. The scanner cleared. For the first time, there were no blips chasing them. Silence filled the cockpit. Ilara slumped against the seat, her silver hair falling over her face. But she was smiling. You freed me, Jace holstered his blaster. Told you. Not my style to chain people. Her glowing eyes lifted to him. For the first time they were soft, grateful. But even as peace filled the freighter, Jace knew it would not last. They had won one battle. The war was only beginning. The freighter drifted among the wreckage of the hunter ships. Fires still burned in the black sky. Chunks of metal spinning slowly, silent tombs of the Order's forces. Inside the cockpit, the alarms had gone quiet. The red lights faded to yellow, then green. The ship was battered, shields burned, hull scorched, but it still flew. Jace leaned back in his chair, breathing hard. His knuckles were white on the controls. Slowly he let them go. For the first time in hours, the danger was gone. Beside him, Ilara sat slumped, her silver hair tangled across her shoulders. The collar was gone. The chains were gone. Only the faint glow of her skin remained, soft and steady. You did it, Jace said. His voice was rough, tired, but firm. You broke them. Alara lifted her head. Her glowing eyes met his. No, we did it. Jace gave a small, tired laugh. Fair enough. Silence settled for a moment. The stars stretched wide before them, endless and empty. Jace stared at them, his mind heavy. He had stepped into that market as just another wanderer. Now he was sitting next to the last princess of a fallen empire, with the Order hunting him across the stars. He shook his head. I should have walked away. Alara tilted her head, studying him. But you didn't. No, Jace admitted. Guess I never could. Not with those eyes on me. Not with you begging like that. Her lips curved the faintest smile. Then I was right to beg. Jace turned toward her, his voice hard again. You need to understand something. I didn't buy you to own you. I didn't break your collar to make you mine. You're not my slave, Alara. You never were. Her glowing eyes softened. I know. That is why I chose you. Because you are human. Because you do not bow and you do not chain. He studied her for a long moment. Her face was young, but her eyes carried the weight of whole worlds. She had been born to rule but beaten down, caged, chained like an animal. Yet she still burned with fire. What happens now? Jace asked quietly. Alara's smile faded. The Order will come again, stronger. They will not forgive this loss. And when they learn I am free, they will send armies. Then we run? Jace asked. Alara shook her head. We fight. Not just for me. For every world that fears the bond. For every voice that cannot speak because chains silence them. My people are gone. But if I live, if I rise, others will rise with me. Jace rubbed a hand over his face. Sounds like war. It is already war, she said softly. But you, Jace, you are the first who fought not for empire, not for power, but simply because you would not let me fall. That is why we can win. That is why humanity matters. Jace chuckled, though there was no humor in it. So let me get this straight. I'm a smuggler with a half-broken freighter, and now I'm supposed to help lead a war against the biggest slaver empire in the galaxy? Alara's glowing eyes burned brighter. Yes. He stared at her for a moment, then leaned back in his chair with a groan. I knew I should have stayed out of that market. But even as he said it, a small grin tugged at his lips. Because deep down he knew the truth, he wouldn't have walked away. Not then, not now, not ever. Alara reached out, her thin hand trembling but steady as it rested on his arm. Not as my master, she said softly. Not as my owner, but as my partner. Jace looked down at her hand, then back at her glowing eyes. For the first time he saw not a slave begging for freedom, but a leader ready to rise. Partner, he said. The freighter sailed on, leaving the wreckage behind. The stars opened wide before them, endless and waiting. The Order would come. Armies would march. Chains would rattle across worlds. But Jace knew something the galaxy had forgotten. Humans didn't bow. Humans didn't break, and with Alara at his side he was ready to prove it. The galaxy had no idea what was coming,